You know, I've done 150 miles an hour in a car many times, but I've never felt the need, while doing that speed, to run into a brick wall. I felt that my life could be complete without discovering what it's like to do 150 miles an hour to a dead stop in 2 seconds. But I'm about to find out exactly what it's like, because in a minute, I'm going to land on that.
I had some erudite lines planned as the plane careered toward that tiny runway.
No! No!
I was going to be witty and informative, but as the wheels touched down, it all went wrong. I guess that's what they mean by the dumbing down of television. But at least I did better than the producer, who just sat there looking... well, looking like he just landed on an aircraft carrier, actually.
Another piece to camera containing the word... Hold on, I'm just putting my feet on the right way around again. Ugh. Well, my nose bone's connected to my knee bone, but I am now aboard an Limits-class aircraft carrier, one of the most incredible ships ever made.
This is a very, very tough ship.
It's a dangerous job. The flight deck is probably one of the most dangerous places in the world to work. Our job is to project power. We are a force projection. When we go into the Gulf, we want people to know that there's a lot of punch and there's a lot of power provided there.
This one is called the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, and its job is to take American planes anywhere in the world so they may drop bombs on people.
And here they are, 36 F-18 Hornets, such as we used in the film Independence Day. And somewhere else in this giant 1,000-foot hangar, there are 10 F-14 Tomcats, as used by Tom Cruise in Top Gun. And that's it. 46 planes. Everything you're going to see in the next half hour is designed solely to put these 46 planes into what the Americans insist on calling harm's way.
The Eisenhower is staffed by 5,000 men and 500 women. But it's not the Lurv boat. It's a capital ship, 100,000 tons of steel and fire. It's a nuclear-powered meat cleaver designed to cut the sea clean in half.
Let me give you some of the numbers. There are 4 steam turbines which together develop 260,000 horsepower. There are 4 propeller shafts just like this one, which are 2 feet in diameter and 500 feet long. There are 4 propellers which are 30 feet in diameter, and the top speed is classified. Now, I'm going to tell you, but unfortunately, when you find out, the US Navy will come round to your house and kill you. So if you don't want to know, turn your sound down now. All right? 30 knots. 30 knots.
This speedboat is doing 30 knots. 30 knots means the Eisenhower can get from its home port of Norfolk in Virginia to the coast of Libya in 4 days.
This is literally the race car of the seas, and it's agile and it's fast, and because of the nuclear power, pull the rods and go, and I'm there. This ship was, they started construction in 1970. Here it is, 1998, and I'm still on the original tank of gas. The ship has not been refueled yet, and it won't be refueled for a while.
So how do you protect a ship which, excluding the planes and crew, is worth $4.5 billion? Well, any incoming missile will have to get past the gun, which fires 4,500 rounds a minute. And the Eisenhower never puts to sea alone. It's always shadowed by its battle group.
I command the Eisenhower Battle Group, which includes the aircraft carrier Eisenhower, the Air Wing, Carrier Air Wing 17, the cruisers Cape St. George and Anzio, the destroyers Stump and Deo, the guided missile destroyers Arleigh Burke and Mitcher, the submarines Newport News and Atlanta, and the combat support ship Supply.
So how many
They
ships
compose the Eisenhower Battle Group.
How many ships in total is that?
Well, that's 1, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10 ships.
This man has quite a toy box. He is the master of all he sees, and thanks to the planes under his command, quite a lot he doesn't.
Hold on, let's let that one load. How much space is controlled by a carrier battle group?
What we've done is we have established what we call the vital area around the aircraft carrier. And that vital area is 65 miles radius. Outside of that vital area is the contact, identification, and engagement zone, which extends another 50, 60 miles. In that zone, we will pick up, escort, intercept, and during the hostilities phase, destroy any contact before it gets to 65 miles.
And ground zero is the carrier?
That's right.
So, the history of carriers then. Well, in the early days, they would fling planes from above the guns on battleships. But they then had to land in the sea, which was tricky and wasteful. In 1920, the Americans put a flat top on a collier to create the first aircraft carrier. Great, except landing on those early carriers was a new art, which was tricky and wasteful. Despite the problems, carrier-based planes crippled the Bismarck, the pride of Germany's navy. And in the Pacific, the Japanese launched their attack on Pearl Harbor from the sea. After the war, carriers took over from battleships as a navy's most important tool. And they still are. Only last month, Britain announced it was to build 2 big ones, but then they'll need people to work on them. And despite the glamorous image, that's not something I can recommend. The bowels of a carrier are hell on earth.
Now, on this deck alone, there's a mile of corridors, and there are 17 decks. Now, they're interconnected by 66 stairwells. No lifts, you'll note. 66 stairwells. 33 for going up, 33 for coming down. Thanks very much. Now, there are no portholes. So the only way you can ever tell where you are is by looking at this. 21480L, FR148165. Now that tells me nothing. Where are we going? This way. Ah, we're on the Eisenhower. USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. I know where I am. On board the ship.
Mission please see down before and
Not down there. Ah, look, a map. but it doesn't tell you where I am. When was the last time you got lost?
Oh, I would say about 2 hours ago.
It's not difficult to get lost on this ship.
It's nothing more than a maze. You know, this passageway this way, this ladder well goes this way. It's very easy to get lost.
When was the last time you were lost? On it.
Lost?
Yeah, not lost at sea, lost in the ship, where you get to a turning and think, is it left or is it right? I can't remember.
Fortunately, our Navy has a system of label plates that we put in every space, and you just look at that and go, yes, I'm lost, and help, how do I get out of here?
Help!
They've tried to make this windowless world civilized, with shops where you can buy biscuits and rent the latest videos. There's everything, really, that you'd find in a small town, except the only trees and fresh air are in books.
Omnipotent, eternal God, you chose Pope St. Pius V as leader of your church.
You just get the impression there's not only no space, but there's absolutely no privacy. You never ever find a part of the ship without people coming at you from left and right.
Each dormitory houses up to 150 men, and even the simple gentleman's art of crapping is a team sport. You can't disappear off to the lavatory with the Sunday papers, and there's no space for the Sunday papers in your bunk.
Privacy? No. You have 6,000 people at any one time on a ship that's only the length of 3 football fields. Privacy is non-existent.
So is peace and quiet.
He is full power.
1,000, Cat 1, 47,000, Cat 1. Protos, pick up your recall.
And all night you hear a bang, zzz. You have to get used to it. You just jump. And if you're in one of the racks, you got to be careful if you're in the middle or on the bottom, because you jump and the first thing you hit is that light that's in your rack.
You learn to sleep when you have time to sleep, not when you feel tired.
I don't sleep, I die.
There are no such things as days of the week. Every day is a day, and for some people who never see the light of day, it's just a time on the watch.
For weeks on end, all you do is work and sleep. Smoking is permitted only in 4 rooms, 2 of which are unventilated. There's no alcohol on board, and though there is a mix of men and women, you aren't allowed to play tonsil hockey.
So there's no hanky-panky allowed on board?
The rules in the Navy are tougher than the rules in the civilian world, and they are all spelled out, and if you choose to violate that rule, and if you're caught, I'm the guy that they're going to have to deal with.
It's funny, you may not have to refuel a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, but you do need to refuel the crew, and that takes some doing.
Right now, we have a total of about $2 million worth of food on board the ship, and that would probably last between 45 to 50 days.
I promise I will never, ever complain about cooking again. Look, the quantity of food they get through on this ship boggles the stomach. 360 cans of soup like this every day. 1,500 fresh eggs every day. 50,000 potatoes every day. And my favourite of all, in an average 40-day cruise, they'll get through 2,500 gallons of fat. Do they ever eat lobster?
Lobster, steak, crab legs, shrimp.
They do eat that?
Crawfish. Oh yes, we have good food here. Good food.
It's food. It's edible sometimes, most of the time.
Everything they make is on the bland side. It seems like everything's fried, greasy.
It's never cooked right. They just seem to say, well, we have to have more rice now. Never mind, it's been in for 2 minutes. Let's just take it out and throw it over there.
It's not great. It's not home cooking, but it's all right. It hasn't killed anybody yet.
And, while we're on the subject of killing,
Right now we are in one of 35 weapons magazine spaces where we keep explosives, where we have cluster bombs, conventional bombs. We have approximately 4.2 million pounds of ordnance located on board Eisenhower here.
Now, of course, at this point, you want to know, is some of that nuclear? To which they'll say, we cannot confirm or deny that. So, that's a yes, then.
You know, they've just started to build the 14th and last ever Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. And I don't think it's going to work very well, because these things, right, they're supposed to turn up off the coast, and then the enemy goes, ooh, no, and throws their guns down and surrenders, because they're so frightening. But this new one, I think they're just going to come down to the beach and laugh at it, because they've called it, ready, the USS Ronald Reagan. Oh, bad name. Really bad name.
If you must work on one of these things, you have to be a pilot. You'll get £30,000 a year and a plane is provided, but you'll be expected to land it like this.
Now, I always thought that that wire stretched across the deck was like a big rubber band and the plane hit it and went boing and stopped. But that's wrong. In fact, it's a big, thick steel cable which comes down into this room, I don't know how many decks down we are, and then it's connected to this sort of big engine-y thing under here and there. And then that moves and it fills this bottom canister with, like, fluid which is coming out. And as it's moving, it turns this chain here round and round, and that turns that, which turns that, which turns that. And then something scientific happens in this cylinder here. And while that's happening, there's that fluid going in here, and it's like making all the air compressed about down here. And that stops the plane. However, all planes don't weigh the same amount. So someone up on the flight deck has to radio someone down here to say what plane's coming in, and then he can set it. That's about it, isn't it? Yes?
Yes, that's right.
Well, how do you do it?
When the birds come in, we have a primary operator.
Up on the deck?
Up on deck.
That's him?
Actually, that's the air boss. Right now we have it set at 540
Tomcat.
for Tomcat.
So what's next? Do we know what's coming in next?
A Tomcat's coming in right now.
So we just leave it on that?
Yes.
So if I do that,
they probably call a foul deck, and somebody's going to be answered to it.
What?
Short. Ramp. Missed.
He missed?
Yes.
What? Missed what? He missed the ship? Is he in the sea?
They do miss, the cable that is, quite a lot, and leave a shower of sparks in the process, but then it's not easy landing a Mach 2 jet fighter on a deck at night.
I've just been out there watching people landing at night.
Oh, that's the most fun.
Yeah, fun. You reckon, Will? You reckon night landings are fun?
No, they're not fun. Night landings are scary, and so especially because I got to fly behind this guy.
One of the analogies that I like to use is like having sex in a car wreck. It's a great feeling, but it's also absolutely terrifying.
You come down and you look at the carrier for the first time, and the first thought that probably goes through everybody's mind, whether they admit it or not, is, what am I doing here? Why do I want to do this? You're kind of scared, your heart's racing.
Everything happens so fast.
That's the biggest kicker right there, is the stopping. Your first arrestment is just it's a kick in kick in the pants.
How long have you got before you think, oh God, it's gone wrong, I've got it?
You know right away.
You know right away if you missed and you bolted and you have to go around. And that's why, you know, he goes to full power right when we touch down, just in case you miss.
Landing these things in such a small space and in such a precise manner kind of lends itself to accidents every now and then.
But doesn't that completely wreck morale for a whole tour?
Actually, you'll be surprised. You'll lose an airplane, and within probably 15 to 20 minutes, you're back to the normal pace.
You know, this is a very small airport, and the whole place is chock full of jets that cost $35 million a piece. And I don't care how highly trained all these deckhands are, occasionally they must drop them over the side, they must. And they're going to have parking accidents, everybody does. The thing is parking, I mean, I park hundreds and hundreds of times a year, and one time in 100, I'll scuff the wheels on the curb, maybe hit the car behind, you know. That must happen on the flight deck from time to time. You come out and find your plane's got a ding in it.
To be well, it
and
does
a note
happen.
on it from someone saying, I'm sorry, I reversed into your plane.
It does happen. We do have airplanes that we call them crunches. When an aircraft is taxiing into or runs into another airplane, we call it a crunch. You have airplanes not only taking off and landing simultaneously, but when an aircraft is taxiing around on the flight deck, that's just as dangerous. If it makes a turn and has to come up on the power, the exhaust is capable of blowing people off the side. If you talk to 100 pilots and you ask them what is the scariest thing that they do aboard an aircraft carrier, I would venture to say that a majority would not say the landing. The majority would say actually taxiing around on the deck. The space is so tight, they have to taxi our wheels within inches of the scuppers.
The
edge. Well, there's a little scupper that comes up that would keep the tire from slipping off.
They must have dropped some over the side.
If the aircraft carrier is pitching or rolling at all, and some do quite a bit, yeah, you could go for a ride.
Now, when parking gets just too busy on the deck during the sails, that kind of thing, or when the planes need servicing, they use this.
It takes planes into the hangar below. Now, would you just look at that parking? Can you imagine trying to keep track on what's needed next and where it is?
Well, this is a flight deck Ouija board is what we call it here. It's an exact replica of what we have on the flight deck. It's scaled down to size, and most of the airplanes are also to scale also to fit the flight deck. This is flight deck control, and I'm in control of everything that goes on, whether it's launch and recovery, aircraft movement, running the airplanes up and down the hangar bay to the flight deck. Things do get crazy, and because we have too many things going on at one time, and but we somehow make it happen. They want to make it computerized, but some of this stuff, you just can't computerize. If we lose electrical power or something like that, it's just, you lose a whole lot of the efficiency that you have. I like it this way because I can control it a lot better.
Obviously, the rest of the ship is computerized. But then this is more than a ship. It's a nuclear power station. It's a floating airport. It's a military base with atomic weapons on site. It's air traffic control, and it's the nerve center for a battle group that could destroy an entire country and everyone in it. In this high-tech environment, it's amazing to find that to get the planes off the deck, they're still using hand signals and the steam catapult, a British invention from just after the Second World War. In 2 seconds, a 35-ton plane will be doing 150 miles an hour. Just enough to fly.
The steam catapult you've got, you must have been off steam catapults. How powerful is it?
If most folks are familiar with the Volkswagen Beetle, the car, if I put you in that car, and if I could take my catapult and tilt it up, I can't, but if I could shoot you 12 miles. So it would be the last and most fun Volkswagen ride you ever had.
We call it an e-ticket ride. Like at Disney World, the best rides are the ones that are the e-ticket. You have the A through E. Yeah. Well, the e-tickets are the best rides, and we call the catapult shots an e-ride.
When you take off and that catapult fires you, how fast would you be going if it failed?
Not fast enough to fly. Less than 100 knots, probably. If it fails,
so you just fall in the sea and that would be that?
We'd eject, yes.
Oh, you'd eject?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got your hand on the levers when that thing's...
I don't, because I'm flying the
plane.
plane.
You do?
But
he's not on it, but next to it. It's my responsibility. He's supposed to try to fly it away, and it's my responsibility to make the decision that if we don't have enough airspeed to fly it, to get us out.
Do you have your hand on the ejection lever?
No. You have one hand on the stick, one hand on the throttle. That's for us. Hornets do it a little bit differently. They're trusting their soul to the computer on board.
We do have it easy on the catapult shot. In the F-18, we have one hand on the throttle, and we have what we call the towel rack. And after we salute the catapult officer, we hold onto the towel rack, and we take the catapult shot. And it's not till after the aircraft leaves the flight deck and it's flying that we reach down and touch the stick.
I see. So you have it easy in an F-18, and in an F-14 you have a colleague in the back who'll pull the ejector seat lever if things go wrong. But what if you have to leave in something that looks like it was made in 1947? By Morphy Richards.
I'm sitting in a toaster, which is being powered by two propellers. I'm going to get shot off the end of an aircraft carrier, and when we hit the sea, the ship will run over us. Oh my God, here we go. Ready? Steady. Oh! Bleeding hell. Oh, my spleen! My spleen! That's pretty quick. That's really pretty quick.
Top Gear Waterworld returns in 2 weeks here on BBC Two. That's not the end of the team for tonight, because they're back behind the wheel with some of the best bits in Top Gear Take 2 at 9:45.